I absolutely adore the first Nativity. I think it's great fun. The second Nativity is pretty good. The third Nativity, despite the really good cast, was a weak link, and because of that, I never got round to watching Nativity Rocks, but I finally decided, let's give it a go and see what it's like. Honestly, I thought it was great. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's the best film I've ever seen, nor do I think it's as good as the first film. I didn't really expect it to be. But I think they've added in some elements that make it a little bit more meaningful, and we have a new character who I particularly adore. This was released in 2018. It's directed by Debbie Izzet, written, of course, by Debbie Izzet. And the star of the show is Mr. Poppy, but not the Mr. Poppy we know and love. It's Jerry Poppy, played by the brilliant Simon Lipkin. And Jerry Poppy is the long lost brother of Mr. Poppy. It's all kind of bizarre, but he turns up at St. Bernadette's, and it's a big coincidence because he's a big fan of rock music, and it just so happens that Mrs. Keane, the brilliant acting head teacher played by Celia Imrie, she's enrolled the children in this opportunity to do these rock performances, and this new Mr. Poppy comes along at the right time and takes the lead. The class's actual teacher is not too fond of this idea for various reasons, particularly because Mr. Poppy ends up living with him with his little dog. The dog is so adorable and just makes my day. Needless to say, things don't always go to plan, but a lot of the energy in this is surrounding putting the pieces together in the performances. The performance at the end lasts actually quite a long time, and I'm not going to say what happens or what it's like, but I will say everybody is very talented. The costumes are amazing. Hats off to the costume department. They made everything look fantastic. But there are a few more serious elements in this. We do get a specific look at one of the children from the rival school. We all love Gordon Shakespeare. We love to hate Gordon Shakespeare and his very stuck-up children, but we get to have a bit more of a one-to-one with one of the children, which I thought was very meaningful. And a lot of the focus of this film is about being an outcast, about being different. And with that child, of course, he is very different, particularly when he's not at school, but his peers will view him as being, from a family where he has his own driver and a nanny, etc. And then we have another character who's different. And this is a wonderful character called Doru. And Doru is he is an immigrant from Syria. And at the very beginning, the opening scene, I think, is far too dark and far too traumatic for this film, particularly when you think of the target audience. But basically, this family and a couple of other families are travelling from Syria in this horrific weather. We learn that this boy has just lost his mother. They arrive in England and he loses his father. He becomes separated from his father. We learn his mother has just died, but he becomes separated from his father. This is far too dark. The only thing that I can say about this film that was a terrible, terrible decision is that dark opening. Yes, it gives the film a bit more meaning, and I love the character and I love what he brings to it, but the introduction is completely unnecessary and far too dark and depressing. But Doru as a character is fantastic. We'll forget the fact that he speaks perfect English with not much of an accent. The young actor who plays him, I don't know what his cultural background is. I don't know if he's Syrian or not. I've got no idea. But the fact is, he is different to his classmates, but they all make him feel the same. And it's a lovely message to the young viewers of this film, who will probably have immigrants in their classes. Most children nowadays, certainly in certain parts of the country, will have non-native English speakers in their classes, people who don't even speak the same language as them. And I think it's really important to show children that they should be accepting of these people and of these differences, while also embracing the cultural differences. And the rock concert actually provides an opportunity for that to happen as well, which I thought was lovely. So this character I really liked. We have a brilliant cast, of course, which for me makes it a lot more interesting to watch when the narrative's not great, because there are times, I'm not going to pretend that this film is amazing, there are a lot of times when the narrative gets kind of repetitive or dull or not very entertaining, but we have this fantastic cast that keeps us going, including Celia Imrie, Ruth Jones, my personal favourite Hugh Dennis, Jessica Hynes, Meera Syal. So when the narrative's not that great, we can still look at this cast and think, well, actually, there are bits that I can enjoy. I think the opening makes it too depressive for young children. It makes it too dark. I think they should have cut that out. They still could have had this young child who was found and then brought to the school. It still would have made perfect sense without that really depressing opening. Because these films are meant to be light and fun. You can still have a serious note to it without dragging down the tone a bit too much. It is a children's film, let's not forget that. The actual performances are great. There are not as many performances in this as I feel there are in previous films, which kind of takes away some of the fun. But for the most part, I liked it. I thought it brought in a more serious meaning. Yeah, I miss the original Mr. Poppy. There are a lot of things in this that are missing from the other films, but for the most part, it's good fun. It's a laugh. It's enjoyable. We have a more serious undercurrent that delivers a really beautiful message about unity. And that's something that I think any film should do if they can, and it does it well without making it too much in your face. Aside from that very almost, I don't want to say inappropriate beginning, because I always think that children should be told the truth. And if that is the truth of how Doru got to St. Bernadette's, then fine. But I think there are ways of telling children things without making things terrifying. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I think children are oversensitive and actually they're quite hardy and won't be affected by it. I don't know. If you have children, let me know how they reacted to that. Personally, though, I think the beginning was completely unnecessary, but the character of Doru made this from an okay film to actually a really good and meaningful film. Much better than the third film. I'm really hoping that that is it for the Nativity series, though, because they've milked this cow as much as they can. The first film was amazing. The second film was good. They probably should have stopped there. But if we had to have the third film in order to get to the character of Doru, I'll take that. Nativity Rocks was at least better than I expected.